Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Annie Midlaw, managing editor of Winning Writers. Joining me today is Laura Duffy, former art director for Simon and Schuster and Random House, now independent book cover creator and North Street Book Prize co-sponsor. Laura, thank you so much for being our co-sponsor, and thank you for talking with me about all the ways that book cover design can be important for a book's success.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So before we begin, I'd just like to point out to everybody that Laura Duffy Design is providing a free detailed PDF guide about the book cover design process to all North Street entrants in 2025. And she's also providing free merchandising and book cover design services for winners, as well as some other things, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So let's just dive into the interview. We receive many books in the North Street Book Prize each year. Now, of course, we don't judge a book solely by its cover, but it does make an impact on the book's competitiveness with other submissions. So I just want to ask, like, why do you think authors settle? What are some of the mental stumbling blocks that keep authors from striving for better covers?
Perhaps maybe it's just that they don't know how to find a designer, or they don't know that they need a designer. Perhaps they've designed their own cover and they don't want to be told that it's not good enough. But I think that they need to also be shown, they have their ideas, and I say, yeah, I'm going to do your idea, but then I'm going to show you my idea because that's what you're hiring me for. Then they have that, oh, okay, I get it. Whether it's just like a really impactful design, or it's just the details on the back or on the spine or on the interior, just that it becomes this like, okay. And perhaps it's budget, finances, and stuff like that. And in that case, they could maybe try to learn from other designs or designers or what they see. But I think that, like any other trade or business, when somebody's been doing it for a long time, you want to really rely on their expertise. And especially with a book cover, it's interesting because it's artistic, it's art, it's creativity. We've got artists here, but it's also a business thing, a marketing tool. There's a lot of technical things going on. So you have to find that the right combination.
I get the impression that working with, people are self-publishing, they have to do so much of it by themselves.
Right.
When they meet a professional, especially like a relatively affordable professional like yourself, who does such a good job and has so much background and experience, it can almost feel like doing a trust fall or something. Where,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like the first time, that they've been able to put their work in the hands of another person, and they don't really know how it's going to come out. They've had experiences that burned them in the past, maybe.
That's a good point too, that and I do get a lot of clients who've come to me after working with an agency or some I don't want to badmouth anybody, but there are lots of places out there that, for instance, don't read the book, don't really want it, they just want to produce a cover. And that's not how I work. I don't know how I'd get my ideas if I didn't read as much as I could of an author's work. So yeah, it's all about trust.
Yeah, and I know that you probably don't feel comfortable saying this about yourself, but it's not just your expertise and your experience and your skill. It's also that you're a very warm and lovely person. So I think like if somebody needs to learn to trust, you're probably a good place to go.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, because I feel, there are a lot of companies that are very slick. You don't know who's behind it. Is this one person? Is this a team? Is this a group? And I'm one person, although I'm branching out and I've got people who, are helping me out. But people are reacting to my site because it looks like I'm a human being. Because this is such a incredibly personal thing that these people are doing. Either they're sharing in a memoir, some of the most personal details. For them, it's a huge thing finally publishing this book. It's just really intimidating in a lot of ways. And I think what I'm realizing is that they do appreciate my patience. And I feel personally, with the way the world is, I'm starting, especially in the United States, I'm starting to really appreciate the role I'm playing, the role we're playing in helping people get their stories out, because I know that there's a lot of fear everywhere. And there are a lot, so that leads to even more gatekeepers, more people
Yeah.
saying, I don't want to publish this book. I would assume publishers, this is not, we're not talking about this anymore.
Mhm.
But you can do it. I just want to get that. Yes, you can talk about it and how incredibly important that is.
Yeah.
And I'm working on several books right now that I know are topics that are just really, it's really important for people to get their voices out.
People have been telling them all their lives, "You can't do this, you can't do that," and now it seems like society is telling people more and more, "You can't do this, you can't do that."
Right.
So
Yeah. I feel like people are being a lot more authentic, whether it's because we came through a pandemic. People are looking for places to rest, be creative, or have support. We're just got so much coming at us. And I mean, I think that's the positive thing about nowadays, that people are talking about things and we're seeing the underbelly of a lot of things, but those things were always there. They were just hidden, the Me Too movement. And now it's like, okay, I can talk about my family trauma that
yeah.
before was you just didn't bring it up. And so therefore that's another thing. I'm like, I want to make a big, this cover is going to be strong because this is a badass book. That's what I want to be part of.
This is just another reason why you, as a book cover designer, are, in my opinion, much preferable to organizations that are bigger, slicker,
Right.
because the bigger the company is, the more standardized things have to be.
Yeah.
Somebody who's got so many clients, they don't really necessarily have the time or the
Right.
emotional bandwidth to engage with people on that level. There are so many different kinds of self-published authors. They have
Yes.
different needs, different comfort levels, different
Goals.
expectations.
Yeah.
And we can't, it's not a one size fits all
No.
situation. How do you think we can get authors to appreciate the value of a good cover and evaluate their cover designs more critically?
I think that again, it's the seeing is believing. I think that once you show them what can be done and how others react to their books, once they put it out there in social media, and there's oohing and eyeing, yeah,
Yeah.
um, that's the fun part. I think that's also a step towards, oh, this is going to be a good experience. That I think that fear, that terror of, oh my goodness, I'm putting my baby out into the world for the first time. And then it's like, oh no, this is a party. This is everybody's chiming in. I think that's when they realize, if they're working with somebody like me or another professional with a lot of experience, okay, we're running with the big guys now. We can hang with the big guys and gals. And this feels good.
Book covers are one of the most accessible parts of books. Like it
Right.
should be fun. It
Yeah.
should be a blast.
Yeah.
People look
Yeah.
at that image and they just get an immediate sense of something about your book, something about you.
Everybody now is exposed to design, good design, bad design, now and more people, I would say maybe think they can be designers, but they can be. There are tools and they might find out that they're very good. And it's worth educating yourself and looking around but you do want to do something that's really good, whether you're doing it yourself. There are authors who've done good stuff and they've used Canva or I mean, it's pretty impressive. They've taught themselves InDesign or I'm like, whoa, okay. And I like that too. I love seeing people expand and discover things about themselves.
Maybe they try it and they find an amazing talent, but do they have the time? Do they have the bandwidth? Do they
Right,
have the
right.
resources? I could make a book cover, but would it have all those really subtle little touches that subconsciously communicate to viewers of that
Right.
cover, this is the real thing?
I think that another thing is that, what an author is doing is very creative, and what I'm doing is very creative. Yeah, we're all working with creatives, and
Yeah.
yeah, but in different ways, in different lanes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how improving a book cover can improve sales?
Well, that's a good question because I think that there's a lot that goes into improving sales. The book cover, of course, is important. When you're writing a book and you're considering the cover, you're stepping into the world of marketing. It's just like any other aspect of the world. If you're looking for a job and you want to stand out, how do you present yourself, regardless of how you get to a book? What's going to make you stop, pause, and look at that book and pick it up? On some level, if a book cover is doing its job and it's looking good, especially with a lot of competition, a well put together cover represents and indicates a well-written book.
My next question is, how can a good cover contribute to marketing opportunities like selling book merch or building an author's web presence?
Yeah, I think that people like to see good-looking things, right? I think what's really fun is when you start integrating other elements from the cover onto the website or onto the bookmarks or on, and it kind of pulls it out and it just integrate, it's all of a piece. I think people really appreciate that. I have a very entrepreneurial mindset. And I love thinking about how to grow a business, how to market. I mean, that's just what I get very excited about that. And I try to convey that to authors. Okay, we're going to do this. Like, let's do this. Like, who's your target market? Who's your audience? What should be done early on is keep your audience in mind. SEO, search engine optimization, these keywords that help the cream rise to the top are important. The algorithms, it's the game we're playing. And so making sure that you're using words, whether it's in your book description, whether it's on the back of your book, or that's even in your book or anywhere, that you're using words that will attract your audience. You're not using your title enough. You're not using or the subtitle. Let's get these words into the subtitle, or let's get these words into a blurb. We got to do it. We got to do it if you want to
Yeah.
really stand out. And I
Yeah.
think that is a little bit of something like, that's hard for authors to adjust to. And that's
Yeah.
where I come in like, okay, well, no, we're going to do this. You just relax. You wrote your book.
We're getting into some really like kind of core human issues here with this
Yes,
balance of,
right,
we want to be ourselves, we want to express ourselves, but we also want to get these certain benefits from what we're producing. Sometimes I wonder whether this is actually one of the things that makes self-publishing difficult for people. This conflict, this tension between expressing yourself and getting what you want from other people in terms of their response, in terms of their money, their time, their attention.
right, right.
It's
Totally.
awesome that you can help them with the covers, which is, in most cases, how people really meet the book, but also that you can work on these behind the scenes elements that have to do with marketing on Amazon,
Yeah.
keywords, and all the things that we don't really think about.
When I have the discussions with whether I'm giving them my initial pitch or it's during the process, there's a lot more going on than just the talk about the design of the cover. I over and over again, I'm encouraging authors to get out there. I feel, yeah, really that feeling of I want everybody to be successful and confident. I mean, 99% of the authors that I work with are all newbies, and I've never done this before. I don't know what. Okay, yeah, you're not alone, and I hope that comforts them, that they don't feel like they're the only author in the world that's starting out and never done this before.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a cool place to be. The indie publishing world is really neat.
So you're a North Street co-sponsor. You're actually working with last year's North Street Book Prize winners at this moment. And I'm just wondering, can you tell us a little bit about how it's going, the kind of things that you're working on together?
So I've been working with a lot of the first prize winners, right? I've done work with Angelino, and when I spoke to him, he didn't really know what he wanted, how he wanted to utilize my services. He just wanted it to sell more. So what I offered to do was work on his metadata, work on his copy for his cover on Amazon and keywords. So that was an interesting project, and I'm interested in seeing how that does, because that's what I've been doing for a lot of my clients nowadays. And then for Stephen Pollock, I did a bookmark for him,
Oh, great.
and that might also lead to a postcard. And then Brian Wiggins, who I said, I think your cover looks great, but he wanted to make some changes to the layout and add all of these wonderful awards he's gotten. So I'm doing that.
Can you tell me some of the other kinds of merch that you provide? Because I'm not sure I know.
So the bookmarks and the postcards, really, I've been asked to do tote bags and t-shirts and any kind of swag, toys, business cards that are just specifically for the author. More and more people are asking for like those stand-up banners that they'll have like at a reading, and they retract. And I've got a picture of one woman on my website standing next to one, and it's got her cover on it, and it's got the quotes. A lot of media sheets. I try to encourage people. I say, if you feel like you're going to go out in the world and you're going to be hitting people up for podcasts and this and that, you want to put together a media sheet or a white sheet or whatever. People call them all different things, but they don't even know that that exists. So I show them examples. Whatever anybody, wants their book cover or anything on, it's just a matter of designing it. There are lots of printers, so it doesn't really cost that much money, and it's fun.
I was wondering if you have any advice for authors who might be considering the cover for an upcoming book.
I would say, yeah, just write your book and let me read it. And I think that if you don't really, if you're working with somebody who's going to read the book, which apparently I feel like I'm one of the few only people that do, then you don't have to really do much regarding the cover. When I look through like a story, a novel or something, I'm looking for maybe a specific moment, some kind of tableau, but something that might lend itself to color. Just focus on writing that great book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's great.
Hire that, developmental editor. Let them take their time doing it.
Sometimes I think the part of books that authors produce is like the raw material. Like they are creating a raw diamond or like a lump of raw gold or something like that. Alchemists are real if you're a
Yeah,
self-published author.
right,
You do produce the gold, you do produce the
right.
diamonds. But
That
then,
raw,
you're the alchemist, you're not a blacksmith. You're
right.
not like a goldsmith or a diamond cutter, or there are other people who do that stuff to turn it
And
from that really valuable, rare raw material to the finished product.
let the creative people that you've hired do their job, because they're coming at it from many different vantage points. And it's kind of, I don't know, I've never been able to convey that, to an author. You're just too close to this and just back off. But sometimes, yeah, I'll be able to say that, and they'll get it, and they'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll talk to you when you're done. You just do your thing, and I'm like, yeah, yeah, I love you.
Well, Laura Duffy, thank you so much for sharing your book cover and marketing insights with us today. And thank you so much for providing these excellent benefits for North Street Book Prize entrants and winners.
Well, it is my pleasure. I love working with you, and this has been a really great experience. So I hope that people find these helpful. I really do.